to another interview in our FM Expert series. Today I'm joined by Oliver Jones. Hi, Oliver.
Hi, Beth. Nice to see you.
Thank you for joining us. Oliver is the Chief Executive of Chayora Holdings Limited and also the Chairman of Morphose Capital Partners. And Oliver, you're going to speak to us about management and leadership, the philosophy around that, and you're going to touch on three key themes because it's a broad subject, but you're going to narrow it down for us in our time. So I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Well, it's always a challenge. Thanks, Beth, very much, and great to be part of this great initiative that you've been leading. So thank you for giving me the chance to do my bit. And when you dropped me a note and said, well, what are some of the things that I wish I'd learned at an earlier stage in my career? Frankly, the list is endless. But I thought I might pull out two or three things that might just give people a bit of an angle to hold on to.
Brilliant.
And for me, these are always about the, ultimately, how do you lead? How do you make things happen through management, inspiration, and passion? And the kind of headlines for me, as I say, three particular areas that I thought I'd talk about on this call. The first one is customer service. Now, everyone might say, oh, well, of course we know that because we're in facilities management, it's about customer service. But most people don't get customer service. And I mean don't get it by two ways. Number one, they don't get it because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And secondly, they don't get it because they don't demand it as a consumer. And one of the things for me, which was a dawning light, I had been in the professional industry and I'd even set up and run my first the Simons business back in the 1990s. And it was 10 years into my career in FM before the penny suddenly dropped on customer service. And that's crazy because I'd built a business, I'd sold a business during that time and got a good return. But despite it being all about customer service, I only suddenly worked it out when I went to work with Mark Dixon at Regis. And
I was going to say, what helped the penny drop?
Well, Mark was just he's an inspirational entrepreneur and a chap whom I had good friendship with and great regard for. But Mark, when I joined him, and I joined his board to just help take the business forward. And Regis back then had 65, I think, or 45 business centers. I was going to say data centers, but business centers at that time, and now it has 4,000. So it was early doors. But one of the things that Mark said, he said, look, before you do anything, I just want to make sure you get customer service. So why don't you go out and look at some of our sites and take the time to travel on some good airlines and stay in some good hotels.
That sounds like a nice job to have.
What a great throwaway. And he said, and then come back and tell me what you've learned. And I thought, no one's ever given me that challenge. And and I thought, well, okay, well, I'll do that. And I traveled to a couple of places and I went to a couple of hotels, and I specifically went to a particular hotel, the Intercon in New York, on these trips because there was a guy that Mark wanted me to interview. And while I was there, I was given the opportunity to do a frontline role in terms of helping behind the concierge desk and helping one of the housekeeping staff. Did a shift. And I won't go into the detail for our little slot here, but it was extraordinary. That what I learned on that was that customer service comes from probably two main things. It comes from somebody who is demanding it, i.e. the leader of the business or the customer, who knows what they want and knows the difference between good and bad customer service. And on that point, great customer service costs no more than bad customer service. In fact, it costs a lot less because of the corrective actions you have to take. And the second is that customer service doesn't come about by chance. It comes about through design. And it comes about through disaggregation of the really important tasks into the smallest different components. So for example, if you walk into a reception area, have you trained your people how to say hello? Now that we had, when I was working with the Asset Factor a few years ago, Matthew Punchin and Keith Perry, my two partners, we put together an amazing program that you might even recall, where we had the 5 golden rules, of which one was how to say hello. Now, actually, it's extreme arrogance and laziness on the part of management if you don't explain that. Do you stand up when you say it? Do you smile when you say it? Do you shake hands? Probably not these days. Do you address somebody as Mr. this, Mr. that, sir, madam, first name, whatever? What do you want to get from that moment of opportunity? And from that point on, the customer path that weaves its way through needs to be disaggregated. So that when it came to the chambermaid that I was working with in this hotel, I worked out after a while that she had around 120 or 130 specific things she had to do when she cleaned each room. And she knew them off by heart. But the clever bit on customer service was not that she knew the 130 things, because she'd had a list and she had to go through it because it was systematized. Like when you take a 747 off the ground, everything is checklist, because then it happens. But actually what she was able to do was they then put a little bit of magic on top. And so she would learn the names of all of the guests on her corridor each day, so that if somebody came out of the room, she could turn around and she'd say, Ms. Goodyear, great to see you this morning. Hope you have a great day. And you would be wowed, actually, whether or not you were Ms. Goodyear. So but actually, that was a different dimension. So customer service, point number one is get out there, go to good places, see what works. Don't put up with bad customer service. Learn how to complain in a constructive way, but learn how to compliment people. So I write more plaudits to restaurants and airlines and hotels and offices to say, I got brilliant experience here, because most people don't. It's only when you look for it that you find it and you learn. So a very long first one.
We could talk about that all day, because I'm so passionate about that. I love that. Thank you. Perfect.
So,
number two.
So number two is detail. We talked a little bit about detail on this, but in facilities management, it's very easy to say, I can't be a jack of all trades, because master of none. Well, I have to be a jack of all trades, master of none. Well, yes, that's very true, because you won't become, an expert lawyer or an expert electrical engineer. But actually, there's an attitude that comes with making sure that in every situation, you're in the present, you've done the work, you've got into the detail, and never be afraid to ask a question if you don't understand something. The older I've got and the more experienced I've got, the more dumb questions I ask, because I'm not afraid of asking the question, because when I do understand it, I can give a better decision, or I can make a better outcome.
That comes with confidence. I think of my 23-year-old self. I didn't want to put my hand above the parapet, because it would reveal I didn't know things. Whereas now at 46, I'll say, I don't understand. What does that mean? How do you do? Why are you doing this? But that comes with confidence and experience as well.
It does. And also, I got an insight to it when I was in my 20s. I qualified originally as a chartered quantity surveyor, so I was doing contracts and procurement and all that kind of stuff. And I've always known that that's an area where, I'll go head to head with anyone in the world on those subjects. Lawyers, and we fire more lawyers for bad drafting than anyone else I know, because my partner, Jonathan Burney in Chayora, and I, know the importance of doing detail as being senior executives. Now, it just means, you've got to make sure that you understand what you're doing. It's a bit like saying you'd never sign a contract without reading it. Well, how many people have signed contracts without reading them? But it applies if you're making a decision about, design choices or interior design, and you're making a choice about procurement or tendering. Spend the time, get into the detail, ask the questions, and recognize that not having knowledge is dangerous. Asking a question might be momentarily declaring a weakness, but you'll be stronger for it.
Yeah.
So that's the second one.
Brilliant point. Thank you for that. I love that. Yeah.
And then I suppose the third one. These days I spend a lot of time working all around the world, and I live in Hong Kong, as you know, these days, and I spend.
You're in New York now, though, with us.
I'm in New York at the moment, and struggling to come to grips with the post-COVID travel situation. But I'm a highly responsible traveller, and lots of protection with my masks and everything all the time. But for me, one of the things that was insightful is that the more I travelled and the more I went to, whether it's emerging or stabilised or new markets or mature markets, was that it's very easy to assume that all of the brilliant stuff that you learn early in your career, maybe in the UK or somewhere else, that everybody else knows that. And any of you who are consultants, recognize that actually, being able to articulate and package good knowledge is one of the joys of being a consultant, because actually people don't have the same experiences. But what you also learn is that the manner in which, people contribute and the people, add to conversations is very different the world over. And the manner that you need to manage them, in some markets and cultures, more directively, in others, much more collaboratively, But to me, the thing that is really highlighted is that one of the things that's been receiving great headlines in recent years is the importance of diversity. Now, I kind of got that a long time ago. I'm anti the kind of the strident diversity position at the moment that says diversity is about black or white. It's about, male or female, because actually to anyone who's a smart manager, that goes without saying. Why on earth would you judge anybody other than on their ability to not only do the job, but to contribute more widely? And, these days, all of the businesses that I operate in, and Chayora is a very good example. We have an extraordinarily well-balanced, diverse senior executive team, and that's in part by wanting to make sure that we are as Chinese as we need to look for the work we're doing in mainland China, as non-Chinese as we need to look for outside China. As you know, the balance between genders is always there, but also the balance between ages. You know, young and old is a really important dimension as well, and there are many other dimensions. So the thing that I guess I've learned is that, you know, it's not always easy to operate with people who don't think the same way as you, but actually, if you can find a way of doing that, and you should, then finding a way of collaborating and, you know, corralling those expert different views will lead to the opportunity to make better decisions. It doesn't lead to better decisions, but it leads to the opportunity, if you've got other skills, your management skills and your resources, you're likely to make better decisions. So for me, summarizing those three, number one, learn about customer service, become passionate about it, you know, die in a ditch for it. Number two, don't forget the detail, because if you're just a superficial kind of do anything manager, you just won't cut it. You know, you'll get fired and you'll just be a staff member. You can lead otherwise. And number three, you know, recognize that different views make great decisions more possible. So there's a little digest for you.
I mean, three things, but three massively game-changing things if you don't get them right.
Well, they have been for me, and they are for so many other people I see out there. And you know, others will have different takes. But you know, in our industry and the FM, and you know, and where I'm doing at the moment with Chayora, we're developing some of the world's biggest data center campuses in mainland China. Now, you know, that's got a whole host of political and other challenges at the moment, but it's an amazing country. You know, it's got amazing opportunity, and you know, at my more advanced stage in this particular industry, I'm learning stuff every single day when I'm across there. I can't get into China at the moment because of all of the barriers and things of that sort, but I'll be back up there very soon. You know, and but we're setting up, you know, academies to ensure that we can teach the brightest young people in the world, which is coming out of universities in China, to enable our customers to hire great, bright young people. You know, and you know, that's the way you've got to start. So I'm heavily into community commitment, and you know, making sure you leave as much as you take in any environment in business.
Absolutely, and the message, Oliver, that comes across always when I speak to you is about passion, and is about, you know, doing everything to the best way you can to, you know, and I think, like you say, not enough people do that. I think you need to have that passion and that drive and that commitment. Listen, talking of which, you're a busy man, so thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. Thanks, Oliver.
Lovely to see you.